Hello, my name is Tony. 2015, and oh, bit current for me. I never saw this in a cinema, just on a borrowed Blu-ray round about January or February in 2016. Recently, I felt like revisiting it again on that format. The reason for this review is it's one of a rare handful of films made and released in the last 20 or so years that I really enjoyed and rate quite highly. It's a Western flick, and if you didn't know from what decade it hailed, you would be hard-pressed to pin it down to a specific period in time. In some ways it feels very old school, with ghostly echoes of Ford's The Searchers whispering away in the fabric. In others, with its moments of extreme violence and awesome gore cropping up, the sense is of something more current, almost splatterhouse. Then we get those hints of 70s and 80s cannibal flicks, like Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust, jogging along with moments that reference Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. Now if this sounds to you like a recipe for some messed up, poorly conceived parody, Blazing Saddles meets the Green Inferno in Peckinpah's backyard, then you would be mistaken. It's played slow and arrow straight, along a narrative spine of gradually escalating tension, building to a finale that could go any number of ways. Other to that, let's consider why it might be worth your time and attention, pilgrims. Somewhere in the Californian hinterland in the 1890s, bushwhackers Buddy Sid Haig and Purvis David Arquette stripped their dead victims of their belongings. Hearing the approach of others, they leg it deeper in country. Blundering through a Native American burial ground, they are attacked by fearsome-looking tribesmen. Buddy is killed, but Purvis manages to escape. He rocks up at the small frontier town of Bright Hope, where he buries his plunder and then makes for the local saloon. His activities are not gone unnoticed. Backup deputy, the elderly rambling Chicory, Richard Jenkins, has witnessed his behaviour and reports to the town sheriff Franklin Hunt, Kurt Russell. Hunt confronts Purvis in the saloon and questions him. When he tries to make a run for it, Hunt shoots him in the leg. He sends a local gunslinger and veteran Indian fighter, Brooder Matthew Fox, to fetch the town doctor. The quack is too well refreshed to tend to a gunshot wound, so Brooder engages the services of his daughter and assistant Samantha O'Dwyer, Lily Simmons. Samantha has been looking after her husband Arthur, Patrick Wilson, who broke his leg falling off a roof during a storm. He's currently laid up, in more ways than one, lucky bastard. Samantha removes the bullet from Purvis's leg at the town jail. Hunt and Chicory head for home, leaving the woman with young Deputy Nick Evan Johnnykeet, with orders to escort her home after she's finished up. Next morning, the body of a young black stable hand is discovered, mutilated and disemboweled. When Hunt and Chicory get to the jail, they find no sign of Samantha, Nick or Purvis. There are, however, signs of a struggle, and a uniquely fashioned arrow stuck in a wall, indicating something untoward has taken place. Hunt goes to inform Arthur of the likely abduction of his wife, and they convene in the saloon. Local Native American, known as the Professor, Zahn McClarnon, identifies the arrow as belonging to a nameless tribe shunned by all other tribes. They are troglodytes, cave dwellers, known to be ultra-savage and implacably murderous. They're also cannibals, living on human flesh. The Professor knows where they are likely to be based, but refuses to accompany anyone there, as they will in all probability not be coming back. He shows Hunt the location on a map instead. Hunt feels duty-bound to pursue the abductors. Despite his age and physical restrictions, Chicory insists on going along. Brooder, feeling responsible for bringing Samantha to the jail, and being the most prolific killer of Indians in town and not being one to miss out on a chance of killing more, likewise demands to join up. Despite being barely able to walk, a frantic and obstinate Arthur will not entertain being left behind. That's the ill-matched and woefully inadequate posse. An aging sheriff, a decrepit woolly-headed deputy, an Indian-hating gunslinger, and a crippled husband with an infected leg. Luckily, they only have to locate and go up against a tribe of the most fearsome, feral, depraved, butchering uber cannibals the West has ever seen. Piece of fucking cake. Sounds like an exploitation flick, something Roger Corman might have conceived. A grindhouse mashup or gut-churning Italian gore fest. But it's not. It's something else entirely. It's written and directed by S. Craig Zahler, who would later bring us the visceral crime dramas Brawl in Cell Block 99 and Dragged Across Concrete. Zahler is a big Western fan and author of Western novels. He's also a heavy metal musician, and by 2011 had completed 40 screenplays for Hollywood, only one of which, the low-budget Asylum Blackout, made it to the screen. So there's 39 still to go. Zala's setting, his landscape, is a revisionist reworking of the classic framework of the classic Hollywood westerns. This is represented most clearly in the 5 core characters he creates to populate and drive the story. Kurt Russell is an actor who assimilates traits and qualities of other actors and yet retains an on-screen identity specific unto himself. What I mean by that, as examples, his Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China draws from the mannerisms of Duke Wayne. Pliskin in Escape from New York and MacReady in The Thing bleed Eastwood. Todd 3465 in Soldier channels Arnie and Van Damme. In Bone Tomahawk, Franklin Hunt is a Wayne Eastwood amalgam, which provides all the familiar facets to make him instantly relatable. In the 50s or 60s, Chicory would have been played by Walter Brennan, Brooder by the likes of Dean Martin or Stuart Whitman, Arthur would have been Jimmy Stewart, Glenn Ford or Van Heflin, and Samantha, Angie Dickinson, Gail Russell, Jean Arthur. We know these characters of old, if we watch those old western flicks, that is. We know who they are and what makes them tick. The curveball is the scenario Zala plants them into. It's not one I could have imagined being employed in a serious Hollywood film prior to the millennium that wasn't an exploitation or grindhouse venture. The extreme violence and cannibalism with flesh-rending set pieces towards the end would not, I feel, have been entertained. Skillfully, Zala opts for a slow-burning lead-up to these and other grotesquerie in the cannibal cave system. The odds continue to stack up against our heroes on their journey. Mexican bandoleros steal their horses, so they must proceed on foot. The closer they get to the home turf of the natives, the more the natives launch attacks. The condition of Arthur's leg worsens, requiring, in a grueling scene, Chicory reset it with a hammer. He falls behind, hobbling along, dealing with screaming agony, topped up with an opioid tincture to alleviate the pain. As hope of success decreases, so the tension ramps up and the more fraught and anxiety-provoking the journey becomes. It ventures to become a sort of nightmare road movie without a road. When Brooder is killed by the savages, Hunt and Chicory are taken prisoner. They're caged in the cave system with Samantha and Nick likewise imprisoned opposite. Samantha tells them the natives have already eaten Purvis. They are made to witness Nick then being stripped naked, butchered, bisected, his body cut in two and consumed. It's strong, grisly stuff that Zala doesn't shy away from. However, salvation comes in the unlikely form of Arthur, who is by now reduced to almost dragging himself along by his fingernails. More through luck than judgment, he does whittle down the tribe numbers, shooting several. I won't reveal the ending in full, only to say there is great sacrifice, and the survivors are the ones who seemed least likely to survive, subversively enough. Bone Tomahawk was quite surprisingly well received by critics, yet the public didn't take to it and it did lousy box office. Amongst the critics though was a specific voice of dissent I find that I must take some issue with. Manchester Metropolitan University professor Matthew Carter was critical of the film, accusing it of perpetuating racist stereotypes against Native Americans. He argued that the film's story, and I quote, is informed by one of white America's oldest and most paranoid of racist psychosexual myths, the captivity narrative. Now, to suggest that Native Americans taking captives is just a myth equals inaccurate political point scoring. It disingenuously rewrites history or the history recorded and researched over time by credible historians, much of which was drawn from officially reported incidents and first-hand or eyewitness accounts. As evidence, one could look up accessible works by Anne Little, J. Norman Hurd, Anna Lucia Lugo, or the memoir of an actual captive, Mary Rowlandson, or Frederick Drimmer's book of first-hand accounts. The captivity narrative is not without historical precedent. Therefore, I don't accept Carter's take as a valid critique of the film. If he'd cited the cannibalism aspect, then yeah, maybe. But records of Native American captive taking dates back as far as 1528 and the Spanish. It can't all be bunk. History lesson over? School's out. Bone Tomahawk is different. It takes the formula of the Western and combines it with the content and sensibilities of the exploitation grindhouse school of filmmaking. Yet, as Zala knows his grassroots stuff and knows it well, he manages to steer it away from being an exploitation flick. And what you end up with is a very successful marriage of Western and horror that remains predominantly a Western. It didn't appeal to most people, but it did to me, as it no doubt would. All the characters are well drawn own, but the standouts were Lily Simmons' Samantha and Matthew Fox's Brooder. Simmons is the most naturally sexy and attractive frontier wife I've ever seen on film. A strong feminine role and one that is neither patronising nor artificial. And Brooder is killed too soon and given too little to do regarding his talents and skill set. It's a very well judged and executed performance from Fox as a cultured and intelligent loner, an outsider driven to casual killing by his inner trauma. More from him would have been great. As for Russell, Jenkins and Wilson, they are much better than fine. It's easy to imagine such a film would lack humour, but it doesn't. There are some smile-raising moments of blackly sardonic observational dialogue and anecdotal musings that are genuinely eccentric and funny. The use of sound in the film is also quite interesting and quite remarkable, generating a spine-tingling atmosphere of primeval threat. If you watch it, you'll hear what I mean. Some might find it overlong, and if I'm being honest, which in my opinion I am, pruning by 15 to 20 minutes would have streamlined it a bit and smoothed out the run-in. Is it for you? If you are a fan of both westerns and horror movies, it probably is. I will stress though, I must not be as hardened and desensitized as I thought I was, because it includes some powerful moments that even I was compelled to think, God, I can't believe you just did that. And the tribe's treatment of pregnant women is a real unsettling freak show to behold. No idea at all why the great unwashed didn't fall immediately in love with it. I just can't see it at all. If you want something that stands out from the herd as different though, then Bone Tomahawk might just cut the gristle for you. Eternal thanks for your time and attention. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. Once again, the nights seem darker, the weather's growing colder, and winter looms like an ever-present threat. On the plus side, I don't have to go out so much, and there's less people around to see. True what they say, there's always an upside. Take care, pilgrims, till we meet again.